Hi guys, I'm back. I just thought I'd give you a very short video in a different kind of format without you having to look at me on camera the entire time. So let's talk about poetic elements. Just kind of a short review when you're getting ready to do Emily Dickinson and some of her poetry. So poetry is basically just written with capital letters at the beginning of the lines. You're going to appreciate that I am on this. Okay. One of the first elements of poetry is alliteration. This is the repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of the words within a line of poetry. For example, Betty Bopper baked a batch of brownies. Okay. So you're going to have a whole bunch of the same sounds within one line of poetry. But be careful with sounds. Let me get you to this one. For example, this one that says 1, 1 is the same sound. It doesn't matter if it's different spelling, it's still the same sound. So as long as it's along a line of poetry, it's still going to be considered alliteration. All right. Next thing is assonance. This is repetition of vowel sounds within a line of poetry, such as A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, and all your long sounds. The nice thing about assonance is it has lots of vowel sounds in it, so it's kind of easy to remember. All right, another one is consonants. Consonants is a repetition of consonant sounds, the consonants sounds within a line of poetry, which occurs within or at the end of the words. For example, like put and hot. If I put the hot pot, then all of that would be a t, t, t sound within one line of poetry. As long as you're not going from one line to the next line. What do I mean by that? I wouldn't be, say, if this was a poem, I wouldn't be going and matching this one to this one. It has to be across in one line of poetry. Okay. Next one is metaphor. This is a comparison of two or more things without using like or as. For example, she is a fox. Okay. In contrast, a simile is a comparison of two or more things using like or as. Notice the S and the L in the word to remind you that it's simile. Okay. For example, she runs like a fox. Finally, there's symbols. A symbol in poetry and as well as in short stories is going to stand for itself first and then the idea that the author is trying to convey. For example, if it's a poem about an oak tree, then the oak tree still has to act as an oak tree. It has to have leaves and it has bark and it grows in soil and it might be tall and it might be old. It might be certain colors, different leaves at different times. And so it's going to, beyond that, stand for an idea the author is trying to convey. For example, if the oak is meant to represent all of life, meaning the growth in life, the seasons of life, some of these standard stock symbols that we have in poetry. For example, sunset. Most of the time it's going to be the end of something, or it's going to be death. It might stand for a season in life, meaning when you're approaching old age, whereas spring or sunrise is often going to be about new birth and new life and freshness, etc. So sometimes poets will surprise you by using things in unusual ways, but most of the time we do have just stock symbols that are considered to be universal symbols in poetry. That's one of the things that you need to be aware of with Emily Dickinson, is that she does like to use all kinds of symbols. And sometimes they're very unusual. Her poems tend to be short. They're not going to be long lyrical poetry, and they're considered imagistic poems because they use image after image around a central idea. Say, for example, like death. There's one of her poems, it's called There's a Certain Slant of Light, and she talks about the slant of life being in winter and in an afternoon, and then she compares it to death in a dark place, and so there's a whole lot of this building around a time and just the impressions thereof. So imagistic poetry is almost like looking in a window at a certain moment in time and getting a very condensed impression thereof. So I hope that helps you. It's been about 5 minutes, and that's about as long as I ever want to make these. And yes, I'm still here. Thanks.